You're in the VIP section of Black Women in Radio, the podcast, a decade of the new woman. I'm your host, Felicia Love, along with our special guest. Yay, I've got Paris Nicole! How have you been? You're in Philly, right?
I'm in Philly.
How's
I've
Philly?
been good, just working through it all.
It's been a lot, hasn't it?
It's been a lot.
I'm going to need two vacays, one to catch up with all of this craziness, and then one to actually enjoy with a relaxed mind. I was just sharing with you off camera. I just moved, so it just feels like somebody shook me up in a brown paper bag and just scattered me all over the place. It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. But you are our new 2020 Black Women in Radio influencer.
Thank you.
So each month we choose one of our Black Women in Radio to highlight. And we wanted to choose you because I know they say that you're up and coming, but you've been around for a while.
Yeah.
As a program director, and that you're one of the women to watch in many of the magazines that I've seen when I was researching you. So congratulations on that, by the way. Yeah. But I always think that, you really know you made it when your peers see you. Mm-hmm. When your peers say, yeah. So we really wanted to use this platform to do just that. So congratulations to you for joining that. And thanks for accepting. Yeah, we appreciate you. So tell us a little bit about Paris Nicole.
Well, I'm currently in Philly. I've been in Philly for about 3 years. I'm also on middays here. So I'm a personality as well as program director. When I originally came here, I was just doing middays, and I was actually assistant program director. Then I got promoted. It's been a year, actually. It was a year in June. So I got promoted last year to PD. And before that, I was in Virginia and doing radio. I did radio at Radio 1 Richmond and also at iHeart Richmond. It was Clear Channel Richmond, to be honest. That's how long I've been in radio. People always think I just kind of started because I'm a little younger, but I'm like, no, I've been doing radio for at least 14 years at this point. So I've been in for a minute.
Yes, and I really wanted to drive that point home because oftentimes when people highlight you, they say, oh, well, she's new and just arrived now. So tell us the backstory, though. How did you get into radio itself?
I started off as interning. I'm originally from Richmond, Virginia, and I always knew I wanted to do something in the entertainment industry, but I'm just like, what? Like, I can't sing, and Richmond is a smaller city, so it doesn't really have a lot to offer entertainment-wise. So I was like, okay, well, maybe like I can just intern at the radio station. I can just figure it out and see what I like, and I interned in every different department, and then one day just put me on the air, and I was like, this is it. Like, I love it. So, and I was actually 16 at the time. So I was in high school on the radio, like doing a Saturday night show. And, I continued working and worked my way up to becoming a part-time personality. And then I went to Hampton University. But while I was at Hampton, which is like an hour and a half away from Richmond, I was literally coming back every weekend just to do that shift. Like, I missed so many, it's crazy because one of my friends and I were talking about this the other day. Like, I missed so many, like, homecomings and, like, big balls and different things like that because I was always, like, going home to work. But, I mean, obviously now I'm all paid off. So, yeah, so I was doing that still at iHeart. And then I got a better opportunity to do weekends during, during the day, like during the midday slot on weekends with Radio 1 Richmond, which is iPower 92.1 and 104.1. So I continued working there, working part-time. And then I graduated. I'm like, okay, so it's a full-time job. In radio, it doesn't work like that. It's not like all my other friends, they're graduating and they already have their full-time jobs lined up. And I'm just like, okay. So I just kept working. I was the sixth man on the bench. Whenever somebody was sick or they couldn't work, as far as full-timers, I was always filling in. I would run the board. I always tell my staff, like, there's nothing that I haven't done that I would actually do. I remember it would be like I'm running the board for a live broadcast on New Year's Eve, and I'll be right back there the next morning at 6 a.m. to run like the Ricky Smiley morning show. So I've done it all, and I just continued to work hard. I remember I told myself, I was like, listen, I was about to turn 25, and I was like, if I don't get on full time by the time I'm 25, I'm gonna have to figure something out. I'm gonna have to move. I don't know. And literally 2 weeks after my 25th birthday, I got hired. I got promoted to do middays.
Oh, wow.
I got my full-time job, but it wasn't easy because I graduated, but like 4 years before that, 3 years before that. So, and I did middays in Richmond for 2 years. Got promoted to assistant program director in middays, and that was probably for like maybe 5 months, and then Philly called me and was like, "We need you in Philly," so here I am.
Oh, that is so awesome. So was it an adjustment going from city to city, do you think?
Absolutely, because I mean, Richmond and Philly is two completely different markets. Philly is obviously a major city. It's more fast-paced, more going on. We have, this big sports city. It's very big community driven. A lot of big artists that are actually from here. We have the Meek Mills, even the Jill Scotts. Like Philly's a home for music. So yeah, definitely.
So what do you do? And I'm just asking you this because I know traveling from city to city was always fascinating for me. Mm-hmm. I couldn't wait to get to the next city to see what the culture was like and what the people were like and where I wanted to stay and all of that fun stuff. How was the transition though? Knowing that you were coming into a bigger market, did you have any expectations?
Honestly, I think I had a really, really good transition. When I first got here, I had a lot of people that kind of like, took me under their wing and was like, showing me around the city and just like kind of being there for me because I didn't have any family. And, Philly wasn't a place that I even really frequented like that. Like I may have been here like once or twice before for like Made in America, but other than that, I didn't know anything about the city. And, I feel like I adapted to the city really, really fast because I had a good support system here. But I'm not going to front, when I first moved here, I'm like, oh my God, like, I was a little nervous, but, once I got here, like, I just fell in love with the city and the culture.
Yeah, that's always fascinating because every city, every culture within the city is different. And then being a newbie on air, there's always a tinge of nervousness as to whether or not you'd be able to fit in. I remember there were a couple of cities that I did traffic reports for, and I remember having to do all of these different cities. Well, Houston looked like Houston to me, but it was Houston, and so there are little nuances like that will tell on you.
Yes.
So that's why I wondered about the transition, because sometimes there's a little learning curve there. So how is it being in management for you as a Black woman?
Being in management, it's a lot to it. People see you as the boss and they see all the, the glitz and glam, but, every day, it's still a struggle, as far as in getting the proper respect as a Black woman and a younger woman in this industry. A lot of people will try to get over or try to go around you. But, you just got to just stay firm in what you believe in and just like, listen, it is what it is. Like I'm a program director and you're going to treat me as you would any other program director. And, being that I was assistant program director at the station, a lot of my peers, we were all, co-workers. And, when I got promoted, it's like now, even though I was their boss before, but now I'm really their boss. So, I mean, I feel like that probably was, a little odd adjustment for them. But honestly, my staff is really, really good. Like they show me so much love. Like, and they, I say something like, that's what P says. That's what we're going to do. So, I have a good team, but, being a manager, it could be, a little tricky at times.
Yeah, especially, being a woman and then being Black and then being a young Black woman. There are different hurdles. And I really wanted you to have an opportunity, as I did with some other women when we did Women in Charge. Not too long ago, we did a panel discussion about this very thing. But I wanted to give you an opportunity as well, since you are a woman in charge, to talk about what it's like to be a part of management, and then what is it that you feel like more Black women need in support of that position? What is it that we need more support in?
Honestly, I would just say to treat that female PD as you would a male counterpart. You know, a lot of things, like I told you, I've been in the industry for many, many years. So I know the certain protocols of different things. And I just see a lot of times, you know, it'll come across my desk and I'll just be like, why are we trying to reinvent the wheel now? Like, you know how this goes. Like, we're going to do this the same, you know, the proper way. So I just see, like, you know, a lot of people will try me. And I think it's because, you know, I'm Black, female, and I'm young, but in the day, I know my stuff. Like, I'm not just here. Like, I'm here for a reason. So you can't get over on me. And it just is what it is.
How did you discover your managerial style?
You know, I'm like a natural leader. Like, I've always been that person. Even like back in college when you would have like group projects, I'm like, okay, like, I don't know what y'all doing, but I'm gonna make sure this is right. So I'll lead the group and I'll assign you this, you that. And I just always been like that. Cause my thing is, like, if my name is on something, like, I want it to be right. So, you know, I think that's just, I was a natural born leader with that. And, you know, I originally got into wanting to be on the programming end as far as an assistant program director is because I wanted to have a wider skill set. Like, I came into the industry around the time when there were like a lot of layoffs and, you know, people were thinking that radio was going to go away because that's when voice tracking had just first gotten introduced, so there were less jobs. And I was like, well, listen, I have to make myself valuable. I need to know how to do everything. I need to have a skill set. So I just started shadowing my former PD, and I was like, listen, I'll be a music director. Like, I understand I can't get the title right now because I'm just starting and the money, but like, I'll do it for free. I just need this knowledge. And I was literally, you know, his music director without a title for free for years. But then I got promoted to APD, and, you know, of course now I'm PD. But it's like, it's not like I came in like, okay, I want to be PD. It was like I kind of just, you know, saw the lay of the land and how things work, and I'm like, okay, like I can't just be just a talent. I have to have more going on as well.
Absolutely, you know, because there's no playbook, there's no manual to show us how to get into those positions, and everybody's experience is different in management. But I would love to use the Black Women in Radio platform to get us talking to each other enough so that we can figure out, you know, where are the gaps in management, you know, where are the support systems that we need to do our jobs better, and then how can we articulate that collectively, because usually it's just you and Philly at your station by yourself as PD in your little silo, and that's it. Unless you're blessed to have one or two girlfriends across the way who have experienced it. But oftentimes you don't. So tell me this as well. With managing, is there a difference? Or can you tell between managing a man and managing women? Is there a different kind of approach that we have to be aware of?
You know, I just feel like it depends on the person, because I've had, you know, female employees that, you know, could look at me like I'm a mentor or a big sister. And then I have female employees that are like, I'm the same age as you. I'm not about to listen to you. You know, then I have males where it's like, you know, I love your guidance. I'm going to listen to you. Or they're like, I'm not listening to a woman, you know? So it depends on the person and their personality. And, you know, you just have to have different managerial styles when it comes to your staff. And that's why you have to really get to know your staff. And it's important to have one-on-ones because, you know, not everyone is the same and not everyone receives things the same. So once you know a person, you know how to deliver certain information to them. Whereas, you know, they may not receive it as the other person. They may have gotten offended if you said it that way. But if you said, you know, a certain way to them, they're okay with that.
That is so true. You could deliver the same message to two people and they will take it totally different. Right. So you do have to be aware of that. Do you find in terms of syndication, that still being something of great value to the radio personality? This is a tough question. It's kind of a loaded question here. It used to be that we were really excited about becoming syndicated because you'd hear your voice all over the place, right? So now we are hearing more voice tracking, more of the same radio personality in different cities. So you get that sense of syndication without actually getting paid for those markets that you're actually in. So what do you think? Are we losing the value of what syndication used to be for the radio personality? I know that it's a bottom line dollar situation, but for the radio personality, for the talent, what do you think?
I think, okay, for the talent, I feel as though it's a great look for you because you have the opportunity to expand your brand and your platform. So you may not be getting paid for doing additional markets, but now your name and your voice is being heard in so many other cities, and you can really capitalize off of that. Before the pandemic, of course, you could do bookings and community give backs in those cities. You're not just stuck in one city. Now, from the programmer end, I love local radio. So, I get that, a personality, of course, would want to be syndicated in multiple markets. Like, what personality wouldn't? Like, when you're looking at it for yourself. But as far as in, from a PD standpoint, it's like I'm going to always choose, if I can, the local personality, someone that can really connect and touch the city, and that the city loves and wants to hear and connect with every single day. Whereas it kind of sounds like sometimes voice trackers can sound like a robot. Like, you're not even connecting with the person. You're just talking, and you don't even know parts of the city. That's one thing I will say. If you are voice tracking a market, like, just get familiar with the city so that when you're talking about the city, you sound like you know what you're talking about. Or, just being personable when it comes to the city, because they can tell when you're not here.
Yeah, they can tell. They can definitely tell. But okay, so community radio then is a value that feels like we're losing. I love the fact that you said that that's your first love is local radio, because I as well love the connection with the community and its players. And it's a different bond, I think. When you're, in the city and you're rooting for the city. It's just like, a basketball team or a sports team in general. You want to root for your people.
Yes.
And so when you have this more nationalized feel, as in syndication does for you, you do lose some of its flavor. Are we losing touch with community radio as a whole?
Yes. Absolutely. If you look at it from a whole, absolutely.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to the respective audiences. If you look at certain stations, and it's like the target audience and what you're putting out doesn't even match like who's on the station.
Yeah.
So like a lot of times it's literally all about, like you said, it's about the dollar. It's about how much money you can save, or just traditional, like, old school radio. And with radio, like, it's still changing, and that's how we've been around for so long. You still have to adapt. Like, yeah, we're still traditional radio or commercial radio in your car, but we have to get them digital more. Like, even with the pandemic, we're doing Instagram live interviews, we're doing Zoom interviews with the artists. We did a virtual graduation party with the artists. So it's like we still have to keep up with the times, because that's how you'll get lost behind. It's just like, that's when you'll hear people say things like, "Oh, radio's dying. Nobody listens to radio. Radio's corny," because it's like we're not keeping up with what's happening in 2020.
I think that's huge. I'm so glad you said that, Paris, because radio's not going anywhere. It is a medium that's going to stay here because it just is. It's not going anywhere. But what can we do with that tool? And I love the fact that you said, do more digital, modernize it. And when you do that, that's local radio on steroids. I mean, it's a gold mine when you have that kind of philosophy. No wonder you're PD. I love it. So what would you say to radio personalities who are interested in becoming part of management team? What would you say to them to get noticed?
Learn as much as you can soak up everything that you can, and don't think that you're too, I don't want to say good, but don't be too big-headed to do something. Like, I'll hear people say, that's not a part of my job. I'm not getting paid for that. It's not always about that. Do you know how many things I do even now that I'm not getting paid for? You know, especially with all of the furloughs and everything like that. I'm super short-staffed, so I have, you know, a million jobs outside of my, you know, titles right now. So I would say, you know, in order to grow in this business, like, you have to be a sponge and you have to be humble, because nobody's going to come to you and just be like, hey, we're going to give you PD, because it's like you have to, and there's no, like you said earlier, there's no real guidebook. Like, okay, this is a step, they need to do that, they need to do that. No, so you just kind of have to get in where you fit in, and, you know, tell your PD that you want to learn, and don't just say you want to learn, but actually, like, walk in those footsteps. Like, you know, ask them, do they need any help with this? Or, hey, can you show me how to write imaging? Or, you know, I want to learn music master. Like, actually take it serious. A lot of people will say, you know, I want to get into this, I want to learn that, but they're not staying around after the shift to actually help out or learn these things.
Exactly. And not only helping out, but being dependable. Yes, right? Mm-hmm. Being dependable, knowing that, okay, Paris gave Felicia, you know, this project, you know that you could depend on me to carry it out, as opposed to someone, oh yeah, I really want to be just like you. Oh my God. And then it turned into...
That is so important, because it's like, you know what we do in radio. It's like, you forget to do one little thing, or one little thing is wrong, and everything is messed up. So that's so important. Just being dependable, reliable, and paying close attention to detail. Because in this business, it's like, you know, one misspelling and now the entire brand looks crazy, you know, or it's just little things. So to your point, absolutely 100%.
Yeah. And even with program directors, there's not program directors, but radio personalities, there's not a guidebook there as well. And oftentimes, I know, at least in my career, I've had a mixture of two different radio program directors, some who are very nurturing, and others, you know, you get it right the first time. If not, you're out. What kind of program director are you? Are you one who depends on the radio personality to come in as a brand, know exactly what, you know, professionalism looks like and do that? Or are you more of a nurturer style?
I'm definitely a nurturer. You know, I feel like, because I'm actually grooming up a lot of talent now at my station. So, you know, honestly, I feel, you know, with today's day, like, you have to be like that, because the traditional, like, okay, how I came in is interning and, you know, getting your air check together. Like, we don't even have interns anymore. So it's like, how do they get in the door? And that's where you have to come in as, like, you know, a board op, or, you know, before the pandemic, you know, street team promotions. And, or, you know, if you can't get in the building, then stand out on social media. You know, and just know what it is that you want to do. Okay, yeah, you want to be on the radio, but do you know what an air check is? Mm-hmm. So, you know, I would just say, like, you would have to just build your brand up on social media, because I see people all the time, and I'm like, that kid would be dope on the air. You know, so like, that's the new way. So that's why I feel like you have to nurture, because it's like, we have to create the next generation of talent, because it's not like how it used to be.
I totally agree with you. Totally agree with you. And then you also have a pocket of talent to draw on, YouTubers and podcasters. Now, what I am hearing is that it can backfire. So it depends. If you are a nurturer, it won't backfire, because you know you've got raw talent and you know how to mold it. But if you are not, and you just expect this YouTuber to bring you the same 200,000 followers that they had on YouTube onto your radio station, you might get your feelings hurt, because they don't come with those tools. They come with their personality, but radio is different. So how do you handle that?
That's the programmer's job. Because to your point, you know, if the person they have a huge podcast, or they're just a big star on social media, you have to train them the radio way, because obviously on the air you can't talk for an hour straight.
Right. Exactly.
So, you have to teach them how to, get straight to the point and pull I like to say, the meat and potatoes out of a conversation, out of a break. And I feel like that's the PD's job, to mold them, because how would they know? The only thing they're bringing is their talent and their big brand. So at that point, the PD has to be like, okay, so this is what you do here, shorten up there. That's the PD's job.
Yeah. I love that, because I have seen some fall away, come in as grand YouTubers and do radio for a little bit, and I don't want to do this.
But sometimes it can be the talent as well, because some YouTubers or influencers, they feel like they have such a huge following, they feel like they're bigger than a radio station. So sometimes they're not humble enough to receive the constructive criticism. So I mean, I would say as far as if you are a big brand and you're like, oh, well, I have 500,000 followers, like what do I need that for? It's you still have to listen, and you still have to be a student to the game, because I mean, we have celebrities on the air all the time. Like look at Ricky Smiley. He's a huge celebrity, but he's still on the radio as a radio personality, and doing those breaks the right way and getting to the point. And just because you have followers does not translate into ratings too. So that's another thing.
That is interesting. Could you expand on that? Because that's a very interesting point.
Yeah, followers do not translate into ratings at all. If you're looking at someone that has a large following, you still have to look at who are their followers and who, is really connecting with them. So for instance, let's say I'm looking at this guy and he has like 1 million followers. I'm like, oh my gosh, if he was on the station, it'd be amazing. But all of his followers are kids that are gamers, right? Watching him play video games, all that. Right. So that's not going to translate into people listening to a hip hop station to hear what he has to say. But if I'm looking at somebody on Instagram and they have amazing topics, and every time they say something, they get the people going, and it's a lot of engagement. It's like, wait, this could translate onto the air, because he could do topics on the air and get the callers to call in. It's different.
Right. That's an eye of a program director.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you to do an interview to prove that you're a program director, but boy, are you doing it. That is the eye of a program director right there. I love it. Tell me about, let's see, we talked a little bit about social media. I want to talk about the engagement with Black women now. Mm-hmm. And I have this conversation often because I love the responses. They're not always the same. Do you think that there is a sisterhood among the Black professional women in media, not just radio, but in media? And what do you think that we need to do in order for there to be a tighter system between all of us?
I think there is one right now, and we really saw it when it came to the challenges that were happening this year, especially with like the Don't Rush Challenge. Like we saw a lot of the ladies from different markets. I know I was in a few of them, and we just all like linked up and got together and did it. And I just felt like that just showed the power and sisterhood of radio, because you have me in Philly, and then you have somewhere in Raleigh, Atlanta, and we're all in this one video, and it just shows that we can all come together and be like, hey, we're radio girls, and just to do it on a bigger scale. It would be nice maybe if there was some type of like convention or something, or a summit. Most of us kind of like, we call it our reunion is at like the BET Awards every year for all of the radio personalities. So maybe if there was like a female weekend or personality, well, just people in radio period, that'd be nice as well.
Yeah. Well, Black Women in Radio is working on that, just so that you know.
Awesome.
We are working on that. But I also, wanted to get as many people, and kind of doing, self-editing research, get as many people on board who thinks that networking will be of benefit to them. And why? Why is it a benefit? Why do you care whether or not, there's a tight-knit group of women who are maybe the core is radio, but they're out doing other things? Why is that important?
Because relationships are everything in so many different ways. Of course, to get a job, If, we get thousands of applications and resumes and air checks, but if you already know a personality, you're already familiar with them, when theirs comes across your desk, you're like, oh, actually, I've been looking at this person. I think they're cool, So, of course, in that way, but also to have like a support system. We've all had a different journey in radio. And we all go through different things daily that maybe your average cousin or friend can't really relate to because they're not in the industry. But, I may be able to call you and you're like, oh, that happened to me when I was in, whatever market. And you can kind of talk to the person about it from a sisterhood perspective. So I would say, and from a support system way, and also because it's just great to have those relationships because, I hate to say it, but it's of course, your talent has to be there, but it's also about who you know because it's so many people and so much competition. It's like, how do you stand out?
Right. That is the number one question. How do you stand out? And I think that the thought with us was that you stand out to be, because you're the first or because you push forward or because you're the loudest. That's how you stand out. But that's not how you stand out. You stand out by running over, 5 or 6 other women on the way up. That's not how you stand out. I have my ideas of how you stand out. What are yours?
How I stand out personally?
How a woman can stand out in the industry. So it's not necessarily the old way.
Interesting. In general. Yeah. Just being hardworking and really perfecting your craft. Like, I know it sounds really cliche, but, people have to respect you when you are all about your business and you're a hard worker. Because it's like, the last thing people want is like, this person's so talented, but I just can't work with them. Like, they're just, too big of an ego or they're lazy. So just make sure that you're just also, being a good person at the same time, because that'll get you far. So a lot of people with a lot of talent right now that, don't have a job because they got in the way of their own selves.
I've heard that over and over again in my career. Don't get in your way. Don't get in your way. And for the life of me, I could not figure out what in the world are they saying. But what I learned is that getting in your way means, like you said, having a big head, not being able to listen to instruction, not being able to communicate. And, it's very interesting. We're in the communications industry and some of us don't communicate effectively. What is up with that?
You're absolutely right.
What?
The ego.
Man, it's amazing. And are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm more of an introvert.
More of an introvert. I tell you, most times when I ask people that question, they say they're an introvert. That's the other hilarious thing on radio. It's like,
isn't that crazy? It's like, how are you a radio personality in the public, but you're introvert?
Insane. And you really have to convince people, no, I really am an introvert. but somehow I think that there's a part of us, I'm an introvert too. You wouldn't know it, but I am. But I think there's a part of us that is very creative and expressive, and radio fits the bill in terms of allowing us to express, who we are. And I really, one reason why I got into radio is because it was behind, closed doors. I'm in this, one room. I'm not performing in front of millions of people, maybe on air in my voice, but they don't have to see my face. And I really like that mystery. Like, I was an introvert. And then came remotes and concerts, and now you have a whole skill set you need to learn. So speaking of introverts, and there are many people out there who are, how do you groom that personality to meet the vast personality that a person is looking for on stage, to interview someone? What do you say? How would you coach them?
Most introverts in this business, I feel like it's like they have 2 versions of them. So it's like they're one person now, but as soon as they hit that stage, it's like, stop here.
It's like, where'd that come from?
Yeah, and I just think it's that, like, it's just like when it's game time, it's game time. But of course, you'll have, newer talent that may be a little nervous. And I just say it's just like, just talking them through it and not throwing them out into something so large so fast. So starting off smaller, because, not everybody can hop on a stage and, rock a stadium,
Right.
So, cause, it's not just you going out there and saying what you have to say. It's also you have to deal with crowd reaction and how to, manage a crowd, which is a whole nother, crowd control is a whole nother situation. So I would just say, just start off small and build and build. And it's normal to have little butterflies before you do a hosting or, anything, a big interview, and what I noticed is whenever I felt a little like, as soon as I hit the stage, I was good. It was just leading up to, I might feel a little nervous.
Yeah.
That's normal.
Yeah. It is totally normal. I was listening to you say lead up to, which is wonderful, but sometimes there are instances where, since you are the radio personality, you are just asked to do it, to get on stage, to introduce whomever. So speak to that part when you're just thrust into that situation.
I call that a do or die moment.
Yeah, so it is.
I'm about to show them why I need to be here. And we've all had those moments where you're like, oh my gosh, like if it's a really, really big interview or, you have to bring out a really big artist on stage. And I just feel like that's your time to truly shine. Yeah. And it's like, you can't say no. Like, how are you going to say no? And this is what you signed up to do. This is what you wanted to do. So you have to remember your why and why you originally wanted to do this and not be afraid of the big moments and not being afraid that you're going to mess up. Because at the end, that's what it's all about. You don't want to mess up. You don't want to embarrass yourself. Yeah. You're going to be fine. And you're going to be really, really happy once you do it.
Absolutely. I love the fact that there are times when we are in those tight situations that we surprise ourselves and we're like, oh my gosh, not only did I do it, I killed it, right, but you don't know it until you try. And we were just talking about getting in your own way. Part of the way to get into your own way is talking yourself out of it, talking yourself, telling yourself that you can't do it or that you will suck and all of that. That's one way to get in your own head and get in your way. So I think, teaching people how to pump themselves up, is very important. Let me ask you about dating. Mm-hmm. Dating during COVID, even. Ew.
Yeah. I know.
It's no fun over here. I don't know. Are you having any fun? I don't know.
It's hard. Now we have outdoor dining. So, I'll go out to dinner and stuff. But, in the beginning of the quarantine, it was literally FaceTimes and Zooms and that was it. But I mean, yeah, dating during the pandemic is
it's trash, isn't it? It's just trash.
Like, you just already know that person that is just like 6 feet.
That's what I'm saying. If you didn't know them before, it's just it's just trash. But you can get creative on it. You really can. What do you think about women being able to lead and also have families? What do you think about that? There's a whole different paradigm with, being able to have it all. What's your philosophy?
I love that. And that's why I love Beyonce. I love how she shows that you can have it all. You can have both. You can have the husband, the family, but you can also, be amazing at your career and, the queen, as we call her. So it's like the best of both worlds. And she's doing both to the max. That's why honestly I love Beyonce. Of course I like her music too, but I really admire her work ethic, but also it's still, like, she still has her family, and that's important to me as well. Like, I want to have my career and be a boss and but I still want to have a family as well, because you can do both.
You absolutely can do both, but what kind of guy would fit the bill for Paris, do you think?
He would just have to be a strong man as well, alpha mentality boss, because I have a lot going on, so someone that can really handle that at all and be confident. Because what I noticed, years and years ago, is a lot of guys, they can't handle that you're around celebrities or you're, around all these powerful people. And so, he would have to be confident in himself and powerful within his own right as well to even feel, confident like that.
And what I'm learning too is have your own, be your boss, be the boss in
Yeah.
something else. You know, I love the fact that men advocate for us, but I would also love to see them have their own, just like Jay-Z. I mean, you know, he doesn't necessarily need Beyonce. He has her in his life because she's an asset, and that should be the same for us, don't you think?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
You know, instead of us just looking for it, because I know when I came at a crossroads in radio with, do I continue and leave Atlanta and go to Dallas, because that was supposed to be my next radio gig, or do I stay in Atlanta and have a family? And I chose, well, I want to stay in Atlanta and have a family and do radio that way. But it's very important not to just get married and just for the sake of getting married, choose that right guy. So a conversation that we're having right now would have been so helpful to me in my career in choosing the right guy for the position, because the worst thing you don't want to happen is somebody to say, oh, well, you're married now, so, you know, well, you have children now, so you can't do ABC.
Absolutely. That is so important that you said that, because a lot of guys, like, they'll meet you as this star radio personality, and then once they look, you're like, oh, I don't want you hosting the club anymore. Like, oh, I don't want you hosting that concert. What do you mean? Like, that's important job. Like, okay. Yeah.
Why is that even anything that comes into a man's mind that, you know, now, and my whole thing, I have this conversation with my girls as well. They're 21 and 25. My whole thing is this: when a guy chooses a girl and she's absolutely beautiful and she's got a lot going for her, why are you trying to create, why are you trying to make her small?
Yeah.
What is that about?
Yeah, it's a control thing. It's the control thing. That's why I'm like, I don't have time. Like,
right. Exactly. Here you are, larger than life, meeting all kinds of people. That guy needs to be absolutely confident in knowing that I have this knocked down, gorgeous woman who's coming home to me. It's simple. It sounds so easy, doesn't it?
You to be busy too, because I'm busy, so I need you to be busy. Because if you're not busy, you're gonna be bothering me all day, and I'm like,
when you coming home?
Yes. I can't.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, that's one reason why I wanted to talk a little bit about relationships, because sometimes we are absolutely dynamic in what we do, and then we choose the wrong mate, and then we can't be as dynamic or expand or even evolve, because maybe now you don't want to do radio, maybe you want to be an actress or teach, or television,
Yeah.
You gotta keep me in this little box.
Or you stop your career, like you just give up on your goals, because that's what he wants. He wants you to be that wife now. So I think it's just important to remember what you want to do. Of course, in relationships and in marriage, you have to make sacrifices, but make sure you're marrying someone that, still is in agreement with what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's your career. Like, it's not like it's something that is not important to you. And we all know, like, anybody that works in radio, you have to be passionate about radio to go through the things we go through. So, it's a strong passion there.
Yeah, you do. You have to be passionate about radio to go through some of the things, the shenanigans you go through in your radio career.
Yes.
Oh my goodness. How about mentoring? Are you a mentor, or do you believe in it? And what's the best mentorship experience you've had?
I mentor a few girls now, and we just they'll text me, call me. It's kind of like a little sisterhood. So because I never really had someone that was like there for me like that was really like in the same age group, and also that was real, because a lot of times when I say real, people don't like keeping it real sometimes. Like, they don't like making it seem like they were one time in your shoes. It's like,
exactly. And that takes all of the fun out of having a relationship, because you have to be vulnerable.
You do. And it's like, I was there. I remember, a few years ago how I was like, sad because I couldn't, get on full time, or, I wanted to be in a bigger market. So, I'm that voice that can talk to you and say, like, listen, Like, you may not get paid what you want right now. You may not have that title yet, but trust me, like, just keep working, keep going. It's going to pay off. Everything that you're doing extra is like a benefit to you, because now you have that, you know how to do that. So, you know, whereas somebody else may be like, you know, well, they're not paying you, go to another job. Like, no, that's not.
That's not how it works. It is not. Because then you move and you go to the next city and they're still paying you the same.
Yes.
I've done it. It don't work that way.
Yeah.
Like, dang
it. Exactly. That's why you need someone in radio to kind of tell you how it works, because it's like, it's not like other industries that may be more, you know, I guess, traditional, where, you know, they can be like, oh, well, they're not paying you. Go. It's like with radio, you have to truly honestly work your way up and then be able to demand your value by just kind of just being undeniable. They see it. They know what you can do.
Exactly. And there's something else that I've noticed too. We do evolve, don't we? From thinking of yourself just past the internship, but thinking of yourself as the professional back in the day versus the professional that you are now. You can see that timeline where you really blossomed and evolved, can't you?
Oh my gosh, yes. Like, I think back and I'm like, I thought I should have been in this major market. I'm like, I was not ready. You said you're in your head you were. Exactly. I'm like, no, God was absolutely right. I was not ready. Thank you, Lord, for the way that this all happened.
Yes. When was your peak, I would say? That growth spurt where you really come into your own and you're really feeling confident and powerful in who you are, no longer really searching for what's going on outside of you, but really feeling like, you know what, I've got a nice strong package here. This is who Paris is. When did you notice that?
I knew that when I was around the time when I got promoted, when I was still in Richmond, but I would truly say it really kicked in when I was in Philly, and, you know, I was APD, and then, you know, the operations manager left. So there was the opening, and I just started doing the job, and I did it really, really well, you know, and, you know, I surprised myself kind of. And that's when I was like, oh, you could do this.
Yeah. All those skills start kicking in, don't they? When you need them.
Absolutely, because it was a situation where it was like, you know, that person was the OM. So it was just me there. I was the APD, so I'm kind of like looking over 3 stations at the time and being on the air. Mind you, the other stations is like, I don't even know the music. So, you know, I just held it together and, you know, was still able to, you know, increase ratings on my station and, you know, pull off major events. And that's when I was like, okay, like, you can do this thing. Like, you got it.
Wow. I you know, that's huge. And it's kind of cool because you don't really recognize that you're learning all these things along the way until you need it. And then when you need it, it just comes rushing in with, okay, well, this is what I need to do. And this is how I need to act. And this is how I need to navigate. Did it happen like that for you?
Yeah, absolutely.
It is
and
so cool.
I always say, don't be afraid. You know, like, a lot of us don't have it all figured out. We just learn as we go. I mean, I know sometimes now I'm just like, I just figure it out.
We do not have it all figured out, did we?
And that's what people think. They're like, well, I don't know how to do this. Like, no, like, you can literally figure it out. None of us have it all figured out. We are learning as we go.
No, I really like you. I really, really like you, because that is the realest thing that you could possibly say to anyone. And you know what? Here's the other thing. When you do figure it out, it changes. As soon as you figure it out, you think you got the reins and, okay, I got it. It changes.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Well, I so appreciate spending this time with you. You are a delightful personality.
Thanks for having me. It's been really, really nice.
Oh my goodness. Well, I would love you to come again. I'm working on a webinar for Black women in radio, and I'd really love you to play a part in that. What I'd like to do is set up 15-minute increments for women to teach something. I wanted to keep it light and small, when we have our big platform, it'll be, 45 minutes to an hour. But if you can think of anything that you might want to impart on our community, please let me know. I would love to include you. I didn't ask you to do the Black Women in Radio Women in Charge because it was too late and we had changed schedules a couple of times, and I'm one for consistency. I love consistency. So I didn't want to throw that extra element in there and like, what is she doing?
It's all good.
But I really would like to include you. So before you go, there's word association game that I love to play at the end. Okay. So are you ready?
Yes.
All right. I'll start with Frankie's. You know Frankie Darcell?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. This is Frankie's. Marriage or a buddy?
Marriage.
Heels or flip-flops?
Flip-flops right now. I've been wearing heels all pandemic.
That darn quarantine, boy. It's just showing out, isn't it?
Yes. So that's my flip-flops and my slides.
Slide into the living room for work.
Right.
Slide on the terrace for dinner. Oh my goodness. Wine or shots?
Wine.
Plane or train? That's plane. Okay. That's Helen. Helen Little gave me that one.
Okay.
Religious or spiritual?
Religious.
R&B or hip hop?
Hip hop.
Book or magazine?
Book.
Beach or mountains?
Beach.
All right. How about one more? Radio, TV, or theater?
Radio.
Would you be interested in any other facet of entertainment? If it came up, what would it be?
Yeah, I would do entertainment television.
Entertainment television. I could see you doing that, Paris.
Thank you.
I can totally see you doing ET or what's the other one that I love? Anyway, the lawnmower is out there breaking my concentration. Love radio though. Yes. The show must go on.
Right. That's radio.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. You're a delight to get to know. And I can't wait to showcase you more on Black Women in Radio. And you will get a certificate as a 2020 Black Women in Radio Influencer. And so thank you for all of it.
Thank you for having me anytime, okay?
All right. Thanks so much, Paris. Yeah. You too. Take care.
Like MTV, but here in Canada. I want to be a VJ like Lala Anthony. I remember I did my internship in DC at WPGC, and DJ Flex was the show that I worked on. He was like my mentor, and one day he came up to me, he was like, listen, Ace, you're not gonna make it in radio. I was like, I have a very complex relationship with my body. Like going to these modeling agencies and them telling me like, no, you're not skinny enough, you don't fit the requirements, and then losing hella weight, and then they still telling me that I need to lose more. So I was just pre-programmed to feel like I need to be really, really skinny. Like I lost my radio job days before everything got locked down. Building a brand other than being just a radio personality, like being able to have an identity and a niche is really going to help you long term, because who knows what's going on with radio right now. Like on Go Series is like a hair care line, so just being able to create content for that. I have a tutorial coming out with them. Like I'm just so much more than that, so I just always try to reinforce myself knowing that whatever stage I'm on, whether it's in person or behind the scenes, they love me for who I am.
Be careful as you exit your VIP seats. They will be waiting for you next Wednesday when we talk to the Black Women in Radio Women in Charge panel discussion featuring Pat Prescott, Big Sue, First Lady Joyce Littell, Danielle Johnson, Angela Green, and me, Felicia Love. Make sure you subscribe to Black Women in Radio podcast on all social media and check out our website at www.blackwomeninradio.com.